When you think about what really builds a civilization, what comes to mind? You probably think of powerful leaders, or maybe brilliant new ideas. But what if the most important factor was something else entirely? Today, we're going to see how the land itself, geography, wasn't just a backdrop for ancient Egypt. It was the hidden architect, the primary force that shaped its incredible and long-lasting destiny.
So just take a look at this. If you had to boil down North Africa and the Middle East into a single word, that word would have to be desert, right? It's this immense, seemingly impossible landscape of sand and rock, stretching for thousands and thousands of miles. It's hot, it's dry, and it looks incredibly tough to live in.
And that leads us to the big question. Looking at this environment, how on earth do you build one of the greatest, most enduring civilizations in all of human history right here? What's the secret? How do you not just survive, but actually thrive against what seem like impossible odds? Well, to get to that answer, we have to understand this world made of desert. It was a place that presented huge challenges for sure, but it also held opportunities for anyone who could figure out its secrets. And that is exactly what three ancient peoples did: the Egyptians, the Kushites to their south, and the Israelites in a land they called Canaan.
As it turns out, building a successful society back then wasn't really a matter of luck. It all boiled down to three crucial environmental factors. You can think of these as the absolute keys to survival. Without them, no civilization, no matter how clever, could hope to last.
So what were these magic keys? They were simple: water, topography, and vegetation. Let's just quickly break down why each one was an absolute non-negotiable. First, and this is the big one, is water. I mean, obviously you need it for drinking, but it's so much more. It was a source of food, think fish, birds, and it was also the ancient world's superhighway for travel and trade. Next up, you've got topography. That's basically just the shape of the land. Flat river valleys? Perfect. That's where you can plant crops. But mountains and vast deserts? Those were major roadblocks to building a large, settled society. And finally, there's vegetation, plant life. You might just think food, but it was way more critical than that. Plants like reeds and papyrus were the raw materials for everything from building a house to making paper. They were the basic building blocks of everyday life. Okay, so keep those three keys in your head: water, topography, and vegetation. Now, let's zoom in on Egypt and Kush, because in the middle of this massive desert, one single geographic feature delivered all three of those keys in a huge, spectacular way. And I'm talking, of course, about the Nile River.
The Nile wasn't just a river, it was a complete life support system. In a bone-dry desert, it gave him fresh water. Every single year, like clockwork, it would flood, leaving behind this layer of incredibly rich, fertile black mud that was perfect for farming. The river was teeming with wildlife: fish, geese, you name it. It was the main highway for all trade and travel. And its banks grew all the reeds and papyrus they could ever need. It was literally the whole package.
And here's the result of all that. The Nile created this long, narrow oasis of predictable abundance. This meant the Egyptians and Kushites could become settled farmers. But, just as important, those huge, harsh deserts on either side of them, they acted like a natural wall, protecting them from invaders and allowing their civilization to grow in peace and security for centuries.
Now, to really appreciate just how unique and special Egypt's situation was, we need something to compare it to. So let's shift our focus to the nearby land of Canaan, where the ancient Israelites lived, because their geography sent them down a completely different path. And wow, this really tells the story, doesn't it? On the left, you can see that thin, vibrant green line of the Nile just slicing right through the brown desert. But on the right, you've got Canaan, a much more mixed landscape, sure, but without that single, powerful, life-giving artery. So let's break it down. Egypt had one giant, super reliable river with floods you could set your watch to. Canaan had the Jordan River, yeah, but it wasn't nearly as regular, and the land was much more hilly. So what was the result? Well, instead of becoming settled farmers like the Egyptians, many ancient Israelites became nomadic herders. They were constantly on the move, guiding their flocks to find fresh pasture. And this brings us to a really crucial idea. This incredibly stable, wealthy farming society created by the Nile didn't just shape the lives of ordinary people. It gave almost unimaginable power to its leaders, the pharaohs. The river was the foundation of all their greatness.
You can literally see the stability in the way we talk about Egyptian history. It's defined by these three long, unified periods: the Old, the Middle, and the New Kingdoms. These were huge stretches of peace and prosperity, and they were a direct result of the security that their geography gave them.
Let's start way back in the Old Kingdom with Pharaoh Khufu. He is famous for one thing: building the Great Pyramid at Giza. Now, a project on that scale requires a gigantic, organized workforce. So where do you get the food to feed thousands of workers for 20 years? It came from the massive agricultural surplus that the Nile guaranteed year after year.
Just wrap your head around that number for a second. Over 2 million stone blocks, each one weighing tons, all fitted together perfectly. This wasn't just a tomb. It was a massive statement about the incredible organizational power and the sheer volume of resources that Egypt's geography handed to its pharaohs.
Okay, let's jump forward to the Middle Kingdom and meet Pharaoh Senuseret I. His time on the throne was known for this incredible explosion of art, literature, and architecture. And where did the money for all of that come from? It came from the enormous wealth that Egypt's other natural resources, like gold, copper, and gems from its mines, provided.
Then, in the New Kingdom, we get one of the most remarkable rulers in all of history, Hatshepsut. She was one of Egypt's first and most successful female pharaohs. And what did she do? She used the geographic advantages of the Nile and the nearby seas to launch these huge trade expeditions, bringing even more wealth and exotic new goods back to Egypt.
And get this, to hold on to her power in a totally male-dominated world, Hatshepsut often adopted the imagery of a king. She would sometimes wear a fake beard and even had artists portray her with a male body. It just shows her unbelievable determination to rule on her own terms and command respect.
And finally, we come to the legend himself, Ramses II, often called Ramses the Great. His reign was incredibly long, over 60 years, which is just a testament to the stability of the New Kingdom. And that stability allowed him to be both a powerful military leader and the single greatest builder of monuments in Egyptian history.
But what's really amazing is what he did after years of fighting a rival superpower, the Hittite Empire. Ramses did something that had never been done before. He signed what is considered the world's very first peace treaty. And that kind of complex international diplomacy, that was only possible because he was ruling from a position of incredible strength and security, a gift, ultimately, from the geography of his homeland.
So it all connects, right? The life-giving Nile created a stable food supply. That created a powerful unified state, which in turn could build pyramids and sign peace treaties. It's a straight line from the land to the legacy. And that leaves us with one final thought. If geography was the hidden architect of the ancient world, what are the hidden forces shaping our world today? And are we as aware of them as the ancient Egyptians were of their river?